Hi, my name is Tyler Tidwell, and I'm here to talk about the coral reefs today. Now, first off, why are these important to me? From a very young age, I've had the opportunity through snorkeling and scuba diving to explore the ocean and to see what a lot of people never get to see, which is what's under the water. And I've always been fascinated by it, and the ocean is my real passion. I love the ocean, and it really settles me down, calms me down, and gives me a feeling that I can't really explain. Now, we don't really know that much about the ocean. We've explored less of the ocean floor than we have of the moon's surface. And there's so many amazing species, from dolphins, sharks, whales as long as a 10-story building, jellyfish, squid, everything. And 25% of that life under the ocean lives in 2% of its surface, the coral reefs. Now, coral reefs make up a very small portion of what's in the ocean, and shallow reefs are even a smaller portion of that. But coral are a source of food for many organisms under the ocean, a source of homes for many organisms, and a source of oxygen for everything that lives under the water. They're essentially an underwater rainforest, very dense, very high in biodiversity, and many coral reefs are over 4,500 years old. This makes them the oldest ecosystems in the world. Now, why is coral so important? Well, just imagine for a moment that all of the trees around the world just started dying at a rapid rate. Just started dying. We'd be pretty concerned, wouldn't we? But this is underneath the water, so we're not as worried about it. But what many people don't realize is that a third of the CO2 pollution that we produce is absorbed by the ocean and in turn by the coral reefs. 500 million people each year depend on the coral reefs and their resources for food. And 30 million people estimate it's their entire livelihood, meaning they make all of their money off of it and all of their food from it. It's estimated $29.8 billion annually is made from the coral reefs and their resources. And on top of that, as I mentioned earlier, coral reefs live to be over 4,000 years old. And they're being explored as a possible cure for cancer. Because cancer, being an error in cell reproduction, you think, well, if coral goes for 4,000 years without having cancer, then maybe they hold the key. We don't know. Also, on top of this, they protect shorelines from erosion and massive waves. They're essentially an outer wall for many islands and shorelines around the world. Now, what's happening to the coral? Coral bleaching, that's the issue. Coral bleaching is essentially the whitening of coral through the loss of the bacteria zooxanthellae. Zooxanthellae is a photosynthetic bacteria that it's basically chlorophyll but for coral. It helps them to produce oxygen, to produce food, and to have their color. Now, why is this happening? Because the oceans are warming. Coral are very sensitive, and when they heat up as little as 3 degrees, they can expel all of their zooxanthellae. And when this happens, the coral essentially dies. Now, without coral, there's no oxygen underwater. And 20%, it's estimated 20% of the coral are effectively gone, 15% can be gone in the next 10 years, and 20% more on top of that in the next 30 years. This would have significant social, cultural, economic impacts all over the world. Now, what could happen if we lose all the coral? If coral continues its steady decline, we could see things as drastic as all marine life dead under the water. And we could have a more polluted surface, and we wouldn't have Shark Week. On top of this, we could lose potential cure for cancer, which to me is a pretty big deal. And it's estimated that 15% of all protein consumed by humans comes from fish. Now, I'm not a doctor, but I do know that without protein, our bodies don't do very well. Now, what's being done about this? A lot's being done about this. UNESCO is an organization that is protecting areas around the world that have significant coral reefs and marine life. But most of it revolves around just being green. So what you can do is, any chance that you get to support cleaner energy or just do your part, recycling, stuff like that. That's all we can do. Most of it's up to the government, but there's things to be hopeful about. Coral is adapting, coral is getting stronger, and hopefully we can reverse this problem. Stay green. Thank you.